Topping the news tonight, Prime Minister the Most Honourable Dr. Hubert Minnis has acknowledged this frustration which continues to plague the survivors of Hurricane Dorian after the Category 5 storm ravaged Abaco and Grand Bahama 1 year ago today. In an address to the nation this afternoon, the Prime Minister pledged action and more timely information on the long road ahead as he reminisced on the deadly hurricane. Eldaviz Munnings joins us live in studio with what the Prime Minister had to say. Good evening to you, Eldaviz.
Good evening, Keishla, and good evening, Bahamas. On the one-year anniversary of Hurricane Dorian's landfall in the Bahamas, the Prime Minister described it as a day of remembrance. He said the country remembers all the lives lost and prays for their souls, and continues to pray for those who lost loved ones and are still grieving. In his 15-minute national address this afternoon, he said we must also remember the survivors of Hurricane Dorian, who are still rebuilding their lives and their communities on Abaco, throughout the Abaco Keys, and on Grand Bahama. And he said we will never forget the pain, the suffering, and the devastation from this monster storm, from which it will take time to recover on many levels.
On behalf of myself and my wife Patricia, and the government and people of our country, I again offer condolences and prayers to all who lost a loved one during Hurricane Dorian. All of their lives were important. Each one of our brothers and sisters who died was a special person in their families and communities. I ask all Bahamians to keep praying for their families. Pray that God's mercy will comfort them in time.
Prime Minister Minnis then recounted Hurricane Dorian's initial descent on Abaco 1 year ago, packing maximum sustained winds of 180 miles per hour, gusts of 220 miles per hour, and a storm surge in excess of 20 feet. He branded the storm's impact on Abaco and Grand Bahama as a war zone.
Dorian tore homes from their foundations. It washed away businesses. Boats and containers were flung across neighborhoods and business districts like pieces of paper in the wind. The storm destroyed water, electrical, and telecommunications infrastructure we built as a people over several decades.
The Prime Minister admitted 1 year later that while much progress has been made, there is still much more work to do to fulfill the post-Hurricane Dorian restoration and recovery process. He credited the decision to welcome the largest contingency of international partners in Bahamian history to respond to this extraordinary natural disaster the Bahamas couldn't respond to on its own.
Today, I once again thank all the Bahamians and Bahamian groups, along with the international agencies, NGOs, and volunteers who helped in the immediate aftermath of the disaster and who are still working at restoration. Your dedication and tireless work with the government has been a blessing. I pay special tribute and offer gratitude to the many individuals and businesses, domestic and international, who are helping to slowly rebuild the communities devastated by this monster hurricane. It will take many years before Abaco and Grand Bahama are fully restored. I fully acknowledge the frustration of how long many things have taken. We pledge to communicate to you in a timelier and more effective manner. On behalf of the government, I acknowledge what has not been done and the long and difficult road ahead. The Disaster Reconstruction Authority and the Office of the Prime Minister in Grand Bahama are, through various media, communicating some of the progress and the work that has been accomplished in the last year. The hard and painstaking work continues to restore the devastated communities. As the Hope Town Lighthouse stood through Dorian, withstanding its winds and waves, the people of Abaco and Grand Bahama were not defeated by the storm.
The Prime Minister Minister admonished that we must rebuild for a time in our history as we address with resilience and fortitude the many effects of climate change, including more powerful storms and rising sea levels. He says he has no doubt that the Bahamas will build back better, but it will take time. The Prime Minister also pledged his abiding and unwavering commitment that he will continue to do all that he can to help to restore the lives and the communities of those devastated by Hurricane Dorian 1 year ago. Reporting live in the newsroom, I'm Altaviz Munnings. Back to you, Kishla.